Welcome to the OTC Club. Nicholas is with us. We're very excited to have DDDX with us here today. Thank you so much for joining the OTC Club this evening. We just want to take a moment to thank our title sponsors, Jaws NFT. Make sure to give them some time to look over. If you haven't already, we're going to have it up on top. They'll be minting soon 7,777 regular tier Jaws for 0.15 ETH and 2,222 high roller tier NFTs that pay quarterly dividends of BTC and more. Also, check out Fimi, the unique NFT platform, and yeah, make sure to check them out as well. So thank you, Nicholas, for joining us today.
Thank you, OTC Club, for having us.
Yes, and thank you to 3DX for being up here with us, and then I guess Harold, and who is this? Help me pronounce this.
Yeah, let me introduce everybody.
It's Delvecchio Parks. Delvecchio.
Delvecchio, that's a cool name.
I appreciate it.
We got Delvecchio, our attorney. We got Harold Blackwell, the head of our government contracting and mergers and acquisitions. And on the 3DX Twitter, I got my CEO here, Roger. Roger, say hi to everybody.
Hey, everybody. It's great to be here and experiencing my first Twitter cast. So happy to be here.
Amazing.
Roger is a newbie to Twitter, so bear with us.
It's okay. We have a lot of that where they're like, what's all these buttons on the bottom? Like, to explain to us what this is. So we're super used to that. And what excites us the most is a lot of people are so new to Twitter Spaces. And then we get to explain to them how Twitter Space works. And then we're their first Twitter Spaces. So that is more exciting to us. So welcome, guys. And thank you so much for taking the time out of your guys' busy Sunday evening or relaxing Sunday evening and joining us. Yeah, let's get started. So Nicholas, you guys have a lot going on for 2022, it looks like, for DDDX. From government contracts to acquisitions and e-commerce. Tell us in detail what us retailer investors have to look forward to this year.
Okay, yeah, we got a lot going on. Really a reboot happened last year at 3DX, but I kind of wanted to start at the very beginning. Yeah, so we definitely have a lot going on. We started the company in 2012. I joined last year. They spent the last 6 years really validating the technology. 3D printing is early, super early. I mean, when I talk about early, I mean, there's still a lot of companies still testing the technology, from BMW to Boeing. Desktop Metal is now consolidating the industry. And what the last 7 years did throughout the industry was really try to get subtractive customers to additive manufacturing. So traditionally, the way most of parts were made was it was a big block of steel, and you chipped away at this block of steel to create your part. Now what happens is there's a powder in a box, you shoot a laser through it, and the laser points at whatever part of the part you want to make, and it kind of like Indiana Jones, it surfaces throughout the sand, right? It comes out of the sand into this part. So really, for the longest time now, what they've been doing is validating the technology, basically showing customers, hey, there's a potential to create super complex parts, and this is a new way to do it. And they're testing different materials, different powders, different strengths, right? So when you talk about aerospace or automotive, you really need to have certain materials that you can produce the powder out of, and then certain calibers of strength. Roger can speak a little bit more if you're there.
Yeah,
Roger.
So additive manufacturing, we're a very early adopter on the bell curve. We bought our first metal printer in 2012, and almost nobody understood what it was about. In 2007, we picked up our first composite printer, which helped us understand the binder jet technology. And throughout the process we did lunch and learns from Vancouver, BC to San Francisco, converted our customers through DFAMS, it's called Design for Additive Manufacturing. And the response was amazing. When you buy one of these machines, you have to remember it's not like, being it's a new technology, the truck shows up and throws this thing on the floor and they say, see you later, figure it out. Well, it took a while for us to do that, but we're very good at it. We understand the technology, and we've got a lot of really interesting stuff that you're going to be seeing very soon that we're going to be bringing out.
Great.
Amazing, because I know you guys have the government contracts, acquisitions, and the e-commerce all coming for 2022. So I was just wondering if you guys could go into detail.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I joined back in April, I had a 5-year plan that they brought me on to execute. Year one, recruit top talent, recruit a NASDAQ caliber team that can take us there, recruit the right board of directors, recruit the right engineers, scientists, attorneys, accountants. We're ahead of schedule there. Year two was supposed to be acquisitions, organic acquisitions, e-commerce, and then year three was funding. We've already done our first acquisition. We acquired a patent portfolio. We acquired Specialty Metalworks out of Blaine, Washington, which came with $1.2 million worth of real estate, another probably $700,000 worth of machinery. So it basically doubled the size of our company. And by the end of February, beginning of March, we're acquiring a real estate portfolio via Homescape LLC, a company I started back in 2006. So on our 5-year game plan, the 5th year being the NASDAQ uplist, we're way ahead of schedule. So with the government contracting side, maybe Harold can come up and talk a little bit about what we're doing with the government contracting side. Short story really is that we're vetting through the government contracts that we want. We're setting up investor portals and contract portals. And maybe Harold, you can speak a little bit about some of the portals that we've signed up to already. And maybe your experience, maybe you can give them a little background on where you worked. I know you worked at GE Capital and some other RBS and
You got it, buddy. Thank you so much. First of all, I don't want to be disrespectful and rude. Just wanted to say thank you to the OTC Club. Appreciate the opportunity of having 3DX and us being able to be here and speak and reach out to your community and also to our investors who are joining the call and listening right now. So thank you so much. So my background, this is Harold Blackwell. I am the head of business development and also mergers and acquisitions for 3DX Industries. But prior to joining 3DX Industries, Nick and I, we've known each other for years. And my experience goes back to my days on Wall Street and investment banking, having worked for GE Capital, when it was a thing, UBS Investment Bank, Royal Bank of Scotland. And I actually had started an entrepreneurial venture, my first one, while I was employed here in Connecticut, started an indoor hydroponic farm operation. We were only growing culinary herbs and leafy green vegetables, just to clarify the whole hydroponic play there. And then in addition to the venture that I started for indoor hydroponics, also started my own management or business management consulting firm, Chestnut Street Consulting, and we help and assist middle and lower market companies with respect to gaining access to capital, business development, or building capacity, and we also help with respect to executing mergers and acquisitions and all of the inorganic services that are necessary to grow a business. So when it comes to 3DX Industries, specifically on the business development front, we actually started focusing on getting into the government contracting or government procurement opportunities. And so when I say government in this sense, referring initially to federal government opportunities, specifically looking at DOD or Department of Defense, and then further to that, any of the federal agencies that are involved with regard to anything related to metal manufacturing or parts. And with that focus, we have rolled out in order to be compliant and first of all being able to be a government contractor. 3DX already had many of these pieces and components in place already for years. It was just with regard to now trying to make it more of a synergistic and more functional department or agency within 3DX. So that's what the focus is on now currently. And actually we've kind of, I don't want to elicit any or oversell what we're doing right now. But we've actually, and just to clarify, we actually are, or at least have become enrolled with agencies such as the MTA or the Metropolitan Transit Authority out of New York State. And they are, when it comes to commuter rail and subways and buses, that is the MTA, and they service about, I think last I knew, I need to update my figures, but I thought they were doing like 5 million rides per day, and that cuts across, I believe, buses, uh, commuter rail, and subways. And we are also enrolled with Amtrak, which is the commute. Well, I don't want to say commuter, but the rail, and for the United States. And also, in addition to that, we're actually in portals of some of the larger and more well-known Department of Defense contractors. And so, without going into detail and the specifics with regard to that, but with that said, we're actually on track, and we're now actually looking into how we can play a little bit more in the federal government contracting arena, and also wanting to start exploring opportunities of teaming and working with certain other businesses who are also players and on the government side, and also servicing agencies.
Wow, that is amazing that you guys are doing all that. The OTC markets right now, as investors aren't really sure about the market right now, and it's a reflection of the whole market, the market in whole. Um, how do you plan on standing out from the other companies right now in the OTC?
I'll take that one. The short answer is performing, right? So we're not, we're very, when I first joined, I was very cautious about being this PR firm, right? Because you see a lot of these OTC guys, and all they want to do is, issue press releases. So, I had a little bit of back and forth with management, but my goal was really, use the financials as a report card. Right. We don't want to sell you fluff. If you looked at our press releases, we do our best to not ever give you forward looking press releases. We like to tell you what happened after it happened, just because we don't want to be that company that's like, hey, this is what we plan on doing. No, we want to perform. We want to show you. So our main goal is really to just perform. And one of the ways we want to do that is through acquisition. So if you guys have been following us on Twitter, if you haven't, go and look up, go click on that 3DX Industries Twitter and follow us. But we're planning on one acquisition a quarter. We think that the subtractive sector specifically is ripe for consolidation. So what happened in the subtractive sector, if you've ever been into a machine shop, you see some old guy with greasy hands. And what happened is these guys are all baby boomers. They're trying to sell the business. And the problem is the person who has the money to buy the business doesn't know how to operate the machinery. The person who knows how to operate the machinery doesn't have the capital to buy the business. So I think we're in a sector that's super ripe for consolidation, meaning I want to run across the country, go to all these machine shops, offer them, good terms to buy out their businesses, bring them on as management, and consolidate that sector. With the boom in onshoring in America, we think it's a power play. After we consolidate, we'll have synergies that will lower the cost on the expense side, whether it's through accounting, marketing, legal, right? That lower those expenses. And then we're going to turn ourselves into a product business, because right now, a lot of these machine shops, what happens is you go to them and, BMW comes to us, or the U.S. Navy comes to us either through a prime contractor opportunity or a subprime opportunity. And they say, hey, we need these parts. Well, now we have to change the layout of the machine shop.
He probably had to leave and then come back.
Dang it. Okay. So let me get him back. Did you guys want to fill in for him and kind of finish that off?
Yeah, so I guess in general terms, what Nick was trying to say essentially was with regard to just really having a focus on addressing performance and basically delivering via tangible results in terms of hitting the benchmarks and things that we've all agreed to be able to hit, and in terms of the targets that Nick has in mind. So that's what the focus is, and that's how we plan on delivering the value that the investors and the market will see.
Perfectly said, Harold. So I have another question. I don't know. I guess we're gonna wait, or I don't want to
Sorry,
wait.
I got rugged. I'm gonna be next to Roger. Me and Roger are next to each other.
Oh
So
shoot! I was
yeah.
like, why do you sound so
Hello,
muffled? Like,
I'm back.
oh
Oh my
my,
goodness.
It's
this is
probably because he had both
hilarious.
accounts up.
But
They're in,
Roger was there.
they're in the same room or on the phone or something. It's like
Oh.
it's
Yeah,
like
we're on the same. We're in the same room
three-way.
actually.
That's nice. Okay, so I mean, Harold kind of finished off. I know you got rugged mid sentence, but he
Yeah.
kind of
So to
finished.
finish up, I'll make it shorter this time in case I get rugged. To finish off, we think the sector is ripe for consolidation. Machine shops are going for pennies on the dollar. Most of these shops that you walk into, instead of being sold, they end up being auctioned off. So, you have $1 million worth of machinery that you can pick up for 150,000 under market value, sometimes, 50% under market value. So part of our strategy is to group all of that up. Hopefully it comes with real estate so we can add it all up.
Account to account and
You
give
need
his
to find some Wi-Fi.
like a virus right now.
I mean, Harold kind of like let us know, anyways. So who needs Nick right now, right? I'm just gonna jump into my next question. Harold's here. Okay, so that's fine.
Yeah,
So
we
Harold
have
fearless.
Nick and Dell. So me and Dell, I think we can weather the storm. Hopefully.
yeah, you
Let's
can.
go, Dell. Let's go, Nick.
Yeah,
I mean, Harold. Nick not here.
yeah. Nick is not here. His spirit is. So let me go into the next question. We just have Harold and Dell, and that's fine. Okay, so 3dxindustries.com, right? That's where we can look at their website. It shows a lot of examples of your 3D printed or your 3D printing machine parts. And so you guys provide 3D printing parts, but you guys do more like the CNC machines and everything. But what I'm interested in is the 3D printing, because I feel like we're headed towards utilizing a lot of 3D printing towards the near future. Are you guys seeing an influx in that?
Well, I would say that one thing that is actually happening now is, especially when it comes to the federal government, the larger, or I should say, the DoD agencies, specifically the Navy and the U.S. Air Force, they have already done and confirmed tests with using 3D metal printed parts. And then in the larger defense contractors, so say for example, GE or General Electric, they actually have invested in 3D printing. So when I say they've invested in 3D printing, the capacity and the types of machines they've invested in are 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 huge. I'm talking about their own campus, huge. So with that said, 3D metal printing and 3D printing in general is already out here. And so now that the federal government has caught up, it usually takes them some time to get caught up. But once they're here and they have the ability and capacity to invest even further, that time is now.
Perfectly said. And to just extend out a little bit, what kind of materials or what objects are we using 3D printers for? Just to let the audience know as well, if they don't know. I've kind of looked into it and I've been super just floored at what 3D printing can do.
So one of the things that is very interesting when it comes to 3D metal printing is the fact that they're actually able to create molds. So, and I'm talking about molds that can be used to create other patterns or objects. For example, there was one mold in particular. Gosh, there was. So Nick, real quick, can you help explain some examples of in the real world what 3D metal printing can actually help with? I started going down a line of molds, for example.
Yeah, I mean, so you can literally make anything. That's the crazy part of 3D printing. But where it really becomes awesome is that you can create the most complex parts with 3D printing. So imagine trying to make, the Mona Lisa statue out of metal, right? That would be super hard. to do with subtractive, because you literally have to take a drill bit and carve away a block of metal, right? So with 3D printing, it allows us to create these super complex parts. So I'll give you an example. Roger, what's an example of a super complex part that we've printed?
There's some medical devices that are next to impossible to machine, require several different operations, but you're able to print those with ease. Complexity that I like to say cost you very little.
Exactly. So, for example, there was a piece for an Amazon drone that we created that, you know, the man hours and the machinery that it would have took to create probably would have been 3 weeks and, you know, tens of thousands of dollars. And we're able to do it in, you know, a day with a few $1,000s. So the applications are really endless. The more complex the part, the more cost effective it is to 3D print it.
One of the things I'd like to add there, Nick, is with the plastic 3D printers that have been on the market, with the young people learning them in the last 10 years, we have now a new group of engineers, young engineers, that are not confined to the cost of designing their dreams out of metal, because historically it was too expensive. Now you can take that digital file, they can throw it to the 3D metal printing company, and they can have a usable, functional part that was not ever possible before.
So how strong are these materials that you guys are printing? I know you guys are using like medical devices and things like that, and they have to be like really strong and durable. How strong are these materials?
These materials, the interesting thing about that question is we're printing right now, our target metal is stainless steel. We use a 420 and a 17.4 and one called a J10, which is developed for this. It's as strong as ordinary steel. I like to say, in the subtractive side of the machine shop, people come and say, well, I'd like a part made out of stainless steel. Well, I have a chart on the wall from one manufacturer. There's 40 different kinds of stainless steel, depending on what your requirements from the engineering side are. Do you need it hard? Do you need it tough? Do you need it to elongate? Do you need a compression? It depends. And the beauty of additive manufacturing in the metal world and also in the plastic is now, for the first time, you're able to design a metal from scratch. Now the engineers are looking at it like, well, I don't just have to pick these off-the-shelf materials. Now I can design a metal down by element that I can design, and now I can print that and have those characteristics in the part. So as far as to answer your question, how strong is it? In some cases, it's stronger than ever before available, and in some cases, it doesn't. The parts that you're machining out of solid material are way stronger than they need to be, and that's where the aircraft industry is looking at the design for additive manufacturing on parts. There's they call it a design that's not standard. So it is a free-form type of design that looks odd, but it can use a lot less metal to achieve the same strength.
And that's one of the cool things, by the way, about 3D printing, is that there's a lot of cost savings with how much material you use. Traditionally in subtractive, you know, you're chipping away at these blocks, and all the shavings that fall on the floor either get thrown away or have to be recycled. Here, there is none of that. And as a matter of fact, the powder that is not used can be repurposed and used on the next run to make more parts.
Wow. Powder too. Go ahead, Tigress. Go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, I had to go hide because my kids are acting a fool. But my question is, so that the audience, I guess, gauges this better. You guys were saying some big names like the Navy, the Air Force, BMW, Amazon. Would you consider you guys as a micro manufacturer that is a digital OEM where you have access to their planograms in order to 3D print these parts?
That's a great question. So currently, and this is why we started the contracting division, right? Currently, we're a subprime contractor. So what happens is the U.S. Navy contracts out to a prime contractor, and that contractor contracts out to us, right? So we're in the second tier of that. So generally, we don't have access to those things. But this is exactly why at the end of last year, we launched our contracting division, because now we have the capabilities to be able to go into these companies and say, look, we can do it from start to finish, right? So currently the answer is no, not yet, but that's exactly why we launched the contract division.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm seeing that as an overall theme in the OTC. So I wanted to ask that because it makes sense with the 3D printing and then the ability for you guys to go into different states and get all these little small shops that are going belly up, that I worked in manufacturing for a long time, and we did do 3D printing. And my owner of the company I left started doing that, and he started buying out companies just like this because there was a market for it. So it makes complete sense.
Awesome, Tigers. Maybe we'll get you on board. What do you call it? But I wanted to touch on something really quick as well. Bringing on Harold and Dalvecchio. One of the things that I saw in basically in all companies. My background is in business planning, business development. And when you look at an OTC company, they all have these massive aspirations. They may even have some of the capabilities, but the question always boils down to who is going to do it. So we have all these contract opportunities in the government. Who is going to fill out those contracts? We have all these opportunities in e-commerce to set up retail operations. Who is going to operate the e-commerce store? Which is why I went back, and I think I've said this in a couple other spaces, you look at an OTC company, it's like CEO John Smith, CFO John Smith, Treasurer John Smith, Secretary John Smith. So in business school, they call that gaps in management, right? Which basically means, look, you need to fill in those gaps in management. You need a CFO. You need a head of IR. You need a head of government contracting. You need a lawyer. You need an accountant. So that's why my first year at 3DX was completely focused on filling in those management gaps so we can take advantage of those opportunities. We want to do mergers and acquisitions. Who is leading the charge? We want to do contracts. Who is leading the charge? We want to get retail investors involved, and we want an IR department. Who is leading that charge? So my goal was really to find the all-star in their fields, and that'll never stop. It's just my first year goal to round up as the core, but that'll never stop. We'll never stop trying to recruit the best of the best in their field. So
I'd like to highlight a little bit more on that and then go back to an earlier question, like what do the investors have to look forward to? And if I can tell you one thing that I lose sleep at night over now, 3DX historically has been very good at building a beautiful race car. And when Nick and I met just about a year ago, I have to say he's come in like the Tasmanian devil and helped us assemble a pit crew and a team. And there's a couple here, great players that are on the chat right now. And there's a lot of people behind the scenes that people don't see. But that's what has me excited, because we have the who these people are. And Nick is excellent at putting those teams together.
I think Matt has a question. Matt?
Hey, what's up, guys? Nick, first and foremost, I hope you're enjoying our great state.
Thank you, Matt. You owe me a visit, man. And I owe you a slice of pizza.
I was like, is he nervous? I hope we're not beefing, man. I hope
nah.
I had a lot going on last night.
Never that. But I did have my Jordans on to specifically to come and meet you, my man.
No, when you back again, I definitely owe you a night out. In regards to the retail investors and the performance, and I heard you speak a little bit about accelerating that performance of DDX, and so you guys are working towards something great. Now, as far as the stock price is concerned, now are you guys looking at doing maybe like a reverse stock split to kind of like jump on one of the major indexes, or you guys are gonna just grind it out until the stock value reaches that threshold?
Great question, man. So we don't want to do a reverse stock split. We have currently 20 million shares in the float. If you do it mathematically, it's $2 million in the float. The second I got to the company, I started having all of the employees start buying out shares. So the bigger the dream team gets, the more stock they buy. And I think that'll create upward pressure on the stock to get us to where we have to be. I have no plans of doing a reverse split. I think that, once we increase our book value through acquisitions, investors will start to take notice. And if they don't, then our company has enough employees that eventually, throughout my 5-year game plan, I'm in month 9, they'll buy out the float. So that's kind of our goal to increase the stock price. So if you see us on our Twitter, we disclose when me or Roger or Harold or Dalvecchio buy shares in the company. We're buying on the open market. By the way, me, Harold, and Dalvecchio are all on a share basis. We are not compensated through cash. So we are directly tied with the retail investors, right? We are here, just like you guys, focused on making sure that creates value, but we also want to do it organically in the right way, which means create a real company, right? We're not here to fluff you guys with press releases. We don't care about putting $1 billion in the press release to, hype you guys up. After the first year of building the team, now our focus has turned to what I call the report card, which is the financial statements. So from here on out, you're going to see every quarter some kind of improvement, whether it's our cash balance, whether it's our assets going up, whether it's our liabilities going down. So to answer your question, no, we're not focused on a reverse stock split. We're focused on having an employee-owned company. If you guys, just a little side tangent, right? There's a great book called Business Adventures. It tells about 20, 30 stories on Wall Street companies and how they were formed, right? Great book. And in the book, they tell a story about the Piggly Wiggly and how they had a massive multi-billion-dollar IPO uplist. It was an IPO at the time. And for those who don't know that Piggly Wiggly, it's like the Wawa or 7-Eleven. We had the conversation about Wawa a couple of days ago, right, guys? So, but the goal was that, with so many employees buying out, the company's stock, it brings upward pressure. And by the way, it creates a sustainable business because you want your employees to be owners. You want them to be tied into the financial success of the company. So to answer your question directly, no, we don't plan on a reverse stock split. And yes, we plan on all of our employees to continue to buy it out. And there's not a lot in the float, $2 million as of today. So
that's probably the good organic way to do it, because I just asked that question because companies do that to like give a facade like the price has risen when it hasn't. You know what I mean? Like a company jump from like 60 cents to like $4, and people will think like, oh wow,
Matt, I got to disagree. I don't think that's why executives do it. A lot of time executives are doing it because they need a minimum price requirement to uplist. I think that's how retail investors view it, right? Which, by the way, doesn't help, because what happens is you reverse split the stock. Let's say you're 10 cents, right? You do a massive reverse split to $5. What ends up happening is the retail investors start selling it because they're like, oh my God, I made this gain. Really, nothing happened. Really nothing happened. But I don't think that's why executives do it. Executives really do it is because they're either trying to get around the financing or they're trying to meet an exchange requirement. That's generally why they do it. But we don't have any plans to do it. We're a tiny company. I think our market cap is at like 9 million right now, with 2 million in the float. So we don't see a need to do it. We see a need to, create a real business with real revenues and real assets. And I think that people either catch up or they get left behind, because I know I'm here to buy it out, right? I'm here to build a real solid business with real assets. And if you guys look at Homescape LLC, you'll see that I'm very focused on real estate, e-commerce, and holding assets that I can go later and leverage for more investor dollars, right? And when investor dollars, I don't mean issuing more shares. I mean, if I need $1 million, I can go leverage my real estate. I don't need to issue more shares. So
I hope the success of the company, NASDAQ calls y'all and say, hey, come on. Why have you guys listed yet? You know what I mean? And you guys are like, nah, we're good.
NASDAQ's gonna call you guys.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I did an internship at the New York Stock Exchange. We're definitely focused on getting up to the NASDAQ. But it's not the number one priority is creating a profitable business. That's it. So a lot of people, in the OTC sector, they're like, let's get to $1. Let's get to dollar land. Let's get to dollar land. I'm more focused on let's get to dividend land, right? Let's get to a place where we build a big enough business that we can issue a dividend, and then all the problems are solved. So I'm trying to cut through the weeds there. I had going to the NASDAQ and being, fully reporting is important for transparency and liquidity and a lot of other factors, but it really shouldn't be a goal. The goal should be a profitable, sustainable business. And once you do that, then everything else falls into place.
Yeah. So Nick, I know you don't care for forward-looking statements, right? But I'm going to ask you.
Okay, I'm with it.
What can you share with us about the future of 3DX?
Yeah, again, the future of 3DX includes one acquisition a quarter. We'd like to have real estate in every single acquisition. We definitely want to get into the metal sector. So one of the things that you guys saw us post the other day on my page, and we shared it on 3DX, is the bullion, right? So we've been testing our subtractive side to create metal bullion. So, gold bars, silver bars, copper bars. We're going to work on the precious metals, the top 10 precious metals. We want to dominate everything except for silver and gold right now, because we think we can monopolize that. There's about 7 mints in the United States that mint silver and gold bars. None of them are focused on the other 8 precious metals, right? Palladium, platinum, copper. So you're definitely going to see us produce a lot of metal bars and a lot of bullion, and that will end up, on our balance sheet, as well as will help us with the supply chain problem, right? What COVID taught us was that when there's a huge supply chain issue, it's hard to get metal, just like it's hard to get toilet paper, right? So we want to make sure that we have so much metal on the books that if and when there is something that happens, you got to come to 3DX to buy it. So that's coming in the future. The e-commerce, I'm very bullish on e-commerce. I love Web3. By the way, shout out to Stacky and Christine, who have taught me so much about, Web3. Lucas is here too. I see him down there. Matt, for sure. You guys have all taught me so much about Web3, but I'm also very conscious there's solidified roadmaps in Web2, and e-commerce is one of those. It's $1 trillion industry. We think we can compete effectively in the bullion market and in art sculptures and metal printouts in the e-commerce sector. There's 7 billion people in the world. Only 3.5 billion people have access to the internet. So over the next year, you'll definitely see us compete in the e-commerce sector. You'll definitely see us selling a lot of metal. You'll definitely see us acquiring a lot of real estate, and you'll definitely see us buying out our stock. So is enough forward statements, Stacky, or we need some more?
So another question I had, since you're so bullish on Web3, will there be any 3D printers in Decentraland?
Okay, so let's talk about Web3. I love this. So personally, so when we merge Homescape in my company, we'll bring in Bitcoin and Ethereum into our holdings. So I'm very bullish on Ethereum, semi-bullish on Bitcoin. I love it as a store of value. I love the use cases for Ethereum. I also like technologies that have a roadmap. I don't like to guess. I don't like to, gamble. I don't gamble. So when I have a roadmap, I'm pretty sure it's going to come true. Now, as far as Web3, we've been having some really interesting conversations about the NFT space, and maybe launching an NFT that, gives people the right to 3D print something. We're not sure. Part of the reason why I wanted to meet Matt, shout out to Matt, right? We will. I'm sure we will. But we're going to have more conversations about that for sure with the NFT space. But for sure, we're going to hold Ethereum. For sure, we're going to hold Bitcoin. We want to think, we really are now in transitioning 3DX into a holding company, right? So we started with 3DX. We bought Specialty Metalworks. Now we're buying Homescape. I'm going to go as soon as it books on the balance sheet, which were the accountants. We're moving faster than the accountants in legal right now at 3DX. So as soon as they book it and we find out exactly how they book the assets on our balance sheet and on our income statements, we're going to go on a tirade. I'm going to go on a rampage. I'm going to buy out a ton of companies, and you'll see us transform slowly but surely into more of a holding company that, holds businesses that we think will compete in the future. And we think 3D printing is one of them.
Nick, I got some crazy ideas I got to run by you, man, because I know you guys
get over here. Get in your car.
Get
in your car right now and get over here.
Listen, I get off at 11, man, and I could definitely slide to Miami.
No, I love it. Listen, Matt, and by the way, I think who's in here? If he's not in here, what do you call it? Tatted Trader. We're really big on bringing our shareholders into the fold. So we love to bring our shareholders and make them, employees and long-term shareholders. I've talked to a couple people already in here about, taking stock to come on and be a long-term holder with us and build with us. So, if you guys are interested in that, please feel free to hit me up in the DMs. People, I say this all the time, businesses don't build themselves. People build businesses. So I'm a people maxi. Tigress, you have a question?
I do have a question. So in my mind, I'm thinking 3D printing. Have you guys talked about any contracts to 3D print in space?
Ooh, there she went.
I like that.
Talk about that.
I
Okay.
mean,
All right. All right. So this is okay. Let's talk about forward-looking statements, right? If I was that guy, I'd give you guys all the disclaimer. But here's my vision of 3DX and 3D printing, and this is what I sold, the company on. In the future, you're going to be able to go on Amazon or eBay, and whatever metal product or plastic product you see, you're going to press buy now. That product is not going to be made yet. It's going to be shot to a printer. It's going to be made, and it's going to be the next version of on-time demand. If you ever read a case study on Walmart, really changed the game when they eliminated the back room. For Walmart, you used to have a back room at Caldor's, Kmart, Bradley's, these big box stores. What Walmart did was they said, you bought a toothpaste and a deodorant right now. It sent that order to the computer at the warehouse, and the next morning, the exact inventory that got sold showed up at that Walmart. That was called on-time demand at Walmart. I think that the future, and what I want to pioneer at 3DX, and this is a 10-year, 15-year game plan, right, is you're going to go on Amazon in the e-commerce space. You're going to see a JPEG of something made out of plastic or metal. And as soon as you press buy now, it's going to get shot to a printer. That printer is going to shoot out that item, and that item is going to ship. So instead of Amazon having these large warehouses, we're going to have printers. Now, to answer your question specifically about space, one of the things that we've been working on behind the scenes with space, and this is, again, I don't want to, this is a 5-10-year plan. Right now, what we're focused on is winning government contracts and making sure that we acquire enough assets through our acquisition strategy to give us a solid book value so we can uplist to the QB and eventually the NASDAQ, okay? But what I want to do is I want to either buy out or create, because we already make space components. I want to be the hotels of space. So I want to create the add-ons for the International Space Station. So the space station has, and we can create this. This is the beauty of 3DX, that we have the manufacturing capabilities to do this, right? But what I want to do is create the hotels for space. So while Elon Musk is shooting everybody up to space, and while Virgin Galactic is shooting everybody up to space, and Amazon is shooting up everybody to space, what I want to do is shoot up the real estate for space. So that's something that's probably in our 5-10-year game plan. You're going to see us probably come out with a 3D model of an add-on for the U.S. space station. If you guys actually go type in U.S. space station components, you'll see that it's pretty straightforward. The documentation is already there. The architecture is already there. And what I want to be able to do is put bolt-on parts onto the U.S. space station that becomes basically a hotel in space, right? And we'd like to compete in that market, but that's down the road. Right now, we're focused on, getting in bed with NASA, getting in bed with, the U.S. Navy, U.S. Air Force, so that we can pioneer that later on. But that's definitely something we've had conversations with.
And just
That
so
would
people
be so
listening
cool.
understand, that's not out of the realm for OTC companies because it's already being
Mhm.
done. One OTC that's gone to the New York Stock Exchange is Cooler, and they have been for years 3D printing in space for Microsoft. So that's definitely a concept that's doable with the right contract with the government.
I love that. And also, I think now 3D printers you can do it remotely. So, I've seen something where 3D printers are like they're basically building everything themselves. You don't even need a person there at this point in time. Is that true?
Yes, so that's half true. Yeah, that technology is
Mhm.
just getting there. So yeah, I would say that's maybe 3 years, 4 years away.
Go ahead, Christine.
That's crazy. I've seen, a little bit to add to that. I've seen so many things built with 3D printers. Like, I know China has like whole towns that are built completely off of 3D printing, and it looks insane. And then to what Doll was saying, a lot of the future looks like it's going to be where it's unmanned or like just someone doing it remotely from somewhere else, which I can't wrap my mind around yet. So whatever.
Yeah, no, that's
Anyways.
exactly where it's headed for sure. Like between robotic arms, proper software, and just those two things, and obviously an internet connection, it's definitely a possibility. But just remember that the 3D printing has just proved itself. There was, the plastic market was what, Roger, maybe 20 years now.
Yeah.
So metal 3D printing is after the plastic market. The plastic market came, we focus on metal 3D printing. So we're still early, as they say, on Twitter with the crypto. We're early.
Everywhere
Yeah,
around Twitter.
exactly. We feel super early. We're definitely early here.
I love it. We're definitely fans of 3D printing, so this is aligned with us. I want to kind of press you guys a little bit with the question that I have. A lot of the confidence in retail investors are not so high in the OTC market. So, as a company that is publicly traded in the OTC, how do you guys feel about the market in its current state? And do you have any words to help build confidence in investing in OTC companies like yourself?
Yeah, I mean, first one of the first things I said is we're a company. So to put the OTC in front of us is just a product of where we are today. As we move into the future, we don't like that title just because it has such a negative connotation. But for us, transparency is key. Having these conversations and being reachable is key. So as you can see, we're on this talk. I got me, I got the CEO, I got Harold here, I got Delvecchio here. For us, it's very important to be able to be reachable, and we're super reachable. So any shareholders can give me a call. I mean, I have my phone number, out there. So that's super. As far as, the general market, look, I think, companies have to do a good job of, performing. You can't sugarcoat everything. You can't sell people the pipe dream and then not perform. So, the bottom line is perform, and companies will, people will catch up eventually. So I'm not, as far as the OTC sector, I think people have to realize it's a venture market, right? It's where people go to raise capital. It's where startups go, to build it. It's super speculative. And, if you want credibility, if you're an executive or a company and you want credibility, perform. That's it. I wish there was another way to put it, but perform. And I think if you're following companies and you're talking to executives and they're doing what they say they're going to do and they're performing, then eventually they won't be on the OTC. And that's as far as what the market's doing now. I think we're in a healthy pullback. We had a crazy bull run last year. We printed 20% of the currency over the last year. So, markets are up, enthusiastically. I think you had a lot of amateur investors. I forgot the number, but there's something like 20 plus million new investors in the stock market. So, just a note to every new investor: don't YOLO your money into one stock. Do not go all in on one stock that you heard somebody say on Twitter. Okay, preserve your capital, educate yourself, and tip your toe in before you go all in on something. If you have $100,000 and you put $100,000 on any penny stock, you're crazy. You're nuts. Do not do that. Do not do that. And that sounds crazy from an OTC executive, right? But I'm honest. Like shareholders call me all the time, and they're like, "Hey, man, I put in my life." Like, bro, take it out. If you put in your life savings, take it out. Like, this is not a place where you do that, right? I think people forget. I'm a finance addict. I played my first stock market game when I was 14. I'm 39. People have to realize there's asset classes. Cash is an asset. Gold is an asset. Real estate is an asset. Stock is an asset. Out of all the asset classes, stock is the riskiest asset class. In stocks, penny stocks are the riskiest of that asset class. So, move with prudence, and don't gamble your life savings on something you don't know anything about. We are still something that, yeah, that's my biggest advice there is just, don't gamble your life savings on something you don't know anything about. And if it's your last dollar, it shouldn't be in the stock market anyway.
Wow, well
Christine,
said. Well
you had your
said.
hand raised.
I hope you guys were all listening to that. You heard it here. I do want to say if you guys have any questions out there in the audience, you could go ahead and request now. The hour kind of sailed by. I know we kind of started a little bit late, like 10 minutes in, but it's already been an hour. So if you guys have any questions for 3DX or any of the speakers that are representing 3DX, go ahead and request. But until then, the panel, do you guys have any other questions?
I think they covered a lot. I definitely, again, I wish you guys much success, and I think y'all gonna change the game just with y'all ideas and y'all approach. Tuesday that company Property is NFTing that first real estate property in Tampa, Florida, and they came out of nowhere and started took a whole different spin on real estate. So when it comes to 3D printing, is you guys are everybody's going one way, and then 3DX is carving out a lane for yourselves and for the future generation. You guys are like thinking 10, 20 years ahead about where society is going to be, and I feel like that's a good approach to this.
And we appreciate that, Matt.
I also love the energy from you guys. Sorry, Doll. I didn't see you unmute. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I think something going on with my mic because it's breaking up a bit for me.
Are you close to Nick?
I think Nick gave
spreading the virus like.
Oh my gosh!
You got Space's cooties.
I love I love the energy from all of you guys, and then how you envision your company, how well versed you guys are, and that you guys had the courage, and that you came up to talk to the real retail investors, because we have been reaching out to a few companies and not all of them are ready, to come on. And we do appreciate when a company does come on, because, you guys are ready to answer any questions that we have. And I think that all CEOs and companies should be pretty transparent to all their investors or potential investors. So we definitely appreciate that. But it looks like you guys have covered everything, because not anyone is requesting, so that is good. But do you guys have any message that you have for any of the retail investors that are already invested in you guys or potential before we close out?
Yeah, no, we're just that. Thank you very much, for riding this journey with us. And our lines are always open. You can always reach out to us. The shop and the headquarters is always open. You can always stop by and come see the machinery, see what we're doing. We're a real business. And yeah, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you, Stacky. We really appreciate you, Christine.
I was going to say, for the new investors in the room, if they're just coming in to invest in stocks or whatever, what's the easiest way for them to buy DDDX?
The easiest way to what?
To buy DDDX stock.
Oh, Ameritrade. If you're on Ameritrade, you can buy DDDX until we get to the NASDAQ. Then you'll be able to buy us everywhere.
And E-Trade and anywhere that lets you trade OTC
securities.
Amazing. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you guys so much for joining us on the OTC Club. We've had a blast. Thank you for speaking with the retail investors and being so transparent and giving us your thoughts on the market and giving us, that much more confidence that, the OTC will come back. Awesome. All right, guys, it's been amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your evening, and we will see you guys tomorrow at the bell, and I hope the best for your trading week. Thank you, guys.
And remember, none of this is financial advice, and it's for entertainment purposes only.
Guys, hey, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Tigress. Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Stacky. Appreciate you guys. Thanks, Harold. Thanks, Vecchio.
Bye. Nice to meet you, Harold. Nice to meet you, everybody.
Pleasures to meet you, Christine, Stacky. Thank you so much. Cheers.